Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome back to my live stream. And it is Tuesday. The sun is shining, and I have changed my position. And I just want to show you guys another trick that you don't really need, lots of gear to set up a very good angle for photography or for live streaming, videography, whatever. All you need to do is to look for the right light. So yeah, I have a big window on my right hand side here, so you can see that I'm purely just using natural light as we speak. I do notice something that I may have overexposed slightly, so I'm going to turn the ND filter just a little bit more. So yes, looks, it's still a little bit overblown. Let me just trying to turn down a little bit more, and let's see, is it better? I think it is a little bit better. Yes, yep, it's still feasible. It's still okay to work with natural light. But usually, you know, when you are dealing with a photographer, especially in filming, you need consistent control. Unlike photography, where you need a snap of a second, so that you can just get the correct exposure for that particular second and you're done. But for video and filmmaking, you know, you need the consistency there, unless you are going for like proper filming, you know, in a scene where you have changing lighting, just creating mood and things like lightning and things like that. So apart from that, you know, you do really want to have consistent light. That's why I bring in artificial light to light my face, and you know, just to make sure that even if the external light source is changing, you know, it's not going to experience change of exposures on my face, or you know, things like that. Okay, there we go. Good morning, Henry. And want some tea with your milk? There you go. And yeah, it's all good. And actually, it's actually water here. You know, the sequence that you saw there is what I filmed before, but I'm using the same cup, you know, just to be consistent. Okay, so welcome to my stream. Like I mentioned before, so if you're new to this stream here, I'm trying to do this daily between Monday to Friday, between 11 to 11:30 a.m. GMT London time. And good morning, Trevor. Yes. Yeah, I got regulars, cool. And how are you guys? So basically, this stream is general updates about photography, about filmmaking, about anything you want to ask me. If you want me to check your photos and films or whatever, you're very welcome to message me directly, and I'll have a look at it, and I will reply you accordingly. Of course, over the course of the entire week, I'll be having different topics every single day. Sometimes it could be photos, sometimes it could be film, sometimes it could be just something odd altogether. And but here is the topic of today's, and so right, here we go. So like I mentioned, I'm trying to restrict every stream to be around about 30 minutes to 45 minutes, depending whether I'll overrun a little bit if I answer questions and stuff like at the end of the session. So first I will do a general update about myself, London in general, then I'll have the topic of the day, and I'll have the Q&A. Good morning, Ian. New angle, yes, it takes, really? Well, you can see toys behind me, and then, oh, Ian Monroe, yes, Ian, how are you? How are you? Nice to see you. Very, very nice to see you. So today's setup, like I mentioned, is very simple, and I just purely using natural light. There's no artificial light anywhere, and so it's nice and simple. So I'll try another setup tomorrow, just to, you know, give a little bit of variety, especially now you're stuck at home, and you know, you just gonna try to be as creative as you can, and utilize all corners of my home. How's that? Good morning, Burana. Good morning. Oh, Gaho. How are you? How's it going? Good to see you here and joining me here. So like I mentioned, if you haven't seen this stream before, my name is Jimmy Cheng, and I'm Olympus ambassador, doing photos and videos. So this stream is basically about these two things, photography and videography. Of course, I'll be doing some other things. If you happen to have any questions about these sort of topics or anything else, just, I don't know, when this stream is kind of random, to be quite honest. I have a dedicated photography live stream on my YouTube channel on every Wednesdays between 3 to 3:45 p.m. GMT London time. So if you haven't checked out my YouTube channel, I'm going to put the link down in the description so you can check it out later. So like I mentioned, 30-minute sessions for this, and I always overrun. I never stick with the 30 minutes, and but that will kind of give me a little bit of a time restriction so I don't go overboard. I know a lot of the time when I do live stream, and people would just go for an hour, so just like my YouTube, I easily go over an hour. And to be quite honest, people think that doing live stream is easy. It's bloody hard, you know, like you keep talking for over an hour. You at the end of the stream, you know, you kind of almost lose your voice. So yeah, you always have your cup of water ready, and or something, you know, to keep your throat moist so you can continue to talk for the entire duration. So talk a little bit about my social media, of course, and if you haven't followed me, and I'm going to put all the social link in my description as well. And of course, if you've seen, I got a new angle, so I need to make myself a little bit more familiar with myself. Yeah, there you go. That's my Buy Me a Coffee. That's my sponsor link. If you guys want to sponsor me, there is the link directly there. I actually create a membership in that link as well. So what that membership does is I give you exclusive stuff and also exclusive discount. So you have to go there and check out. I don't want to spoil it, so you can it's just free to go there, just check it out yourself, and there's no obligation. Once again, it's only some appreciation, you know, full stop. And thank you. I know a lot of you guys already supported me, so thank you for that, and I'm really grateful for all your continuous support. Okay, let's get on right to it. So what happened in our lives? Pretty much same old. Stuck at home, nothing to do apart from hearing the kids screaming every day, doing homeworks and cooking and sleeping, eating, watching TV and doing work. Pretty much the same thing. I guess it's actually not so much different to normal life when you're going out to work, but just the difference is you just can't go out. You're just kind of stuck at home. But I guess for a lot of people, that may not be so bad, and especially for those who worked in IT facing the screen, so like they are just basically doing the same job, just different desks and different computer perhaps. But anyway, but in terms of London, and you guys might have heard that our Prime Minister is now in hospitals, intensive care, so that may not be so good, and well, just wish him all the best, and hopefully, you know, he can recover quickly. And it's always, you know, sad to hear anyone get ill anyway. And but at this moment in time, you know, it feels like the country needs some sort of leadership. You know, whether you like him or not, you know, it doesn't really matter. But it's a public figure, as important figure that's gone into hospital, and so it is, you know, you feel it. And so, like I said, you know, the COVID-19 is non-discriminative, so like they could affect anyone. So just be careful. Remember all the measure that we have to do for everybody. You know, like stay at home, wash your hand constantly, trying to keep the social distancing and all the things that the government's been telling us, and trying to keep at it. Hopefully, we'll get through it safe and healthy. So Ian, I set up myself after I told you about it. Someone bought me a coffee yesterday. Hey, that's cool, man. Excellent stuff. Yeah, it's all good. So we support each other, I think, and especially for freelancers like myself. And I know quite a few of my colleagues and people in the industry are all struggling. It's simply because the creative industry, especially, a lot of the creatives, a lot of content creators, they work for themselves. They relying on companies to give them jobs, but because of this COVID-19 and these companies basically stop everything. They either cancel or postpone all the projects, and yeah, it suddenly everything just kind of completely disappeared for the entire 2020. And imagine, you know, everything's been planned for this year. You know, like myself, you know, I planned in 2019. I planned everything in 2020 and 2021, and I have kind of like somehow a budget going on. But like, it's suddenly this budget is vanished, and so you kind of revert back to the reserve mode, and it's always tricky because, you know, like you have things planned, but you can't really achieve that, and you kind of have to pull back a little bit. It's adjustment, you know, and but I'm pretty sure we'll get through it as long as we stick with it together. Yes, we can stick with it together. Okay, let's get on to today's topic. That's the general update. So if you guys are good, and let me know, that's a thumbs up here, and let me know you guys are healthy and nice and happy, and that's the main thing. And I think especially sticking at home now, tension can be very high. People can be arguing all the time. So, you know, like myself, I get frustrated all the time, and I, you know, sometimes at home, and you know, you just can't air it out sometimes. And I mean, like literally air it out. You know, you just can't air it anyway. You can't go out and speak to someone. You're just kind of stuck in the same environment, so it can be really, really tricky. But anyway, let's take on to the today's topic: taking more than just travel snaps. So. For those who didn't hear my previous streams, and I did talk a little bit about travel photography, or, you know, what sort of camera, blah 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 blah. Like, a lot of people, they always start their photography with travel photography, simply because, you know, it's easier or easier to find an excuse to get a nicer camera if they plan a big holiday, for instance. You know, they haven't been to a nice place before and they really want to remember it. You know, psychologically, they want to get a really nice photo, so they just want to capture that. And by buying a nicer camera, they were hoping that big camera, nice camera, will give you that nicer quality. To certain extent, yes, it will get you better quality than your iPhone, for instance. But if you don't know how to use a camera and how to take better photos, you know, it's not actually that much better than your iPhone. And because you'll be composing the same thing, you'll be doing the same shot, it's just using a different camera. And in terms of content-wise, you know, you're not improving yourself at all. So what today's topic is, I'm going to just show you a few tricks, give you a few hints, and just by showing some of the examples that I used. So I'm going to show you in a minute, and just to go through with this, hopefully give you some idea. So when this COVID-19 is all over, you can go out and start traveling again, and you will take better picture. Right, okay. And yes, Michael, this is their very, very tough time at the moment, and yeah, I'm hoping this will get through very, 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 very soon, and that's for sure. Thank you, Michael. Michael is one of my dear friends, and from RPS, and yes, it's something that I really hoping will be over very soon. So let me get rid of this topic so I get some more screen estate so I can show you guys more stuff. Okay. Right, first of all, travel photography. A lot of you guys, and you know, when you go to travel, and first thing to do is snaps. It's easy, you know, like, and just like using your iPhone, you just basically hold it up, bam, 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 and just slaps loads of photos. But let me ask you a question. You know, how many times do you view the entire collection of photos that you take through that holiday? You know, very likely you know, when you look at, let's say you're using your phone, you know, you got it on your camera roll, you'll be like scrolling through them like mad, you know, because you're trying to find a picture that you remember, right? Okay, so that's the first thing. So basically, if you take 3,000 photos on your phone or your camera, you're not going to view 3,000 of them individually. You're going to remember only certain number of photos. Well, what does that mean? It means that you overshot everything. You know, like, you're not really taking the time to think what you should be photographing, what's valuable to you, or what's valuable in photography. You just snaps away and just overshot everything, you know. And so what I would suggest you to do is to slow down. You know, that's one thing about digital photography, is that it's very, very easy to overshoot, you know, unlike film days. And you know, remember back in the days when I basically using the film cameras, I would, you know, before I go on a trip, I would buy 10, 13 rolls of films. I have limited resources to take photos, and of course you can buy more films when you get there, but that is not often. You know, I don't see a lot of tourists do the same thing. I mean, they buy it if they really urgently need some more films, but most of the time you stick with the 10 rolls or 13 rolls, 8 rolls, whatever rolls they take with you. So you have a limited number of frames you can capture throughout the entire trip. So you will be more wary about what you take, what you expose to, what you want to take. So you need to take it back to that film days, you know. And even though you might have grown up with digital cameras, and but it's always good to limit yourself, slow down just a little bit, and then to make sure that things that you capture will be valuable to you. So you will, when you look back at those photos, you remember things, and you'll be happy and smiling when you look at. So that's the whole point of today's topic. So let's give you a couple of examples first, and so this is a typical shot that I shot with a film camera. Just talk about film, and this is, of course, is Paris, as you can see. So this sort of shot that is almost unavoidable, and I would not disagree people taking shots like this, and because it's a generic cityscape. You know, you're showing the entire city, almost like an opening shot of the of your trip. So you will see where you've been. You want to see the entire scene. And actually, now I need to shift over now because I changed the composition a little bit. So let me sit over a little bit so I can give you more screen space here. So yes, so this is a Paris cityscape. So like, It's iconic, you know, like using rule of third to place the iconic Eiffel Tower right at the crossing point there. So it's a very basic photo and very nicely composed, easy to do photo. So I'm not going to go through composition in this particular stream, so I'll do it later on, maybe on my YouTube channel later. Today is all about getting the right content for your trip. So like cityscape, grand shot, wide shot, you can take everything in so you know where you've been. So that's the beginning of it. And secondly, of course, you know, when you get to a location, it's a landmark location, you may want to take something like this because it's, of course, iconic. Once again, Eiffel Tower, of course you want to take that, right? And but you don't want to just go there and snap it, you know, you just have to pay a little bit more attention to your shots. For instance, you know, very simply, when you take a shot like this, and unless you're going really ultra creative, you want it to be nice and straight. And how many times have I seen photographers taking photos, you know, they have the Eiffel Tower skewed, and then like it's just not level, not, you know, it's just horrible when you see photos like that. So making sure first thing, you know, is to place your icons, whether dead in centers or at least make it leveled. And then of course then you have to wait for the right moment as well. You don't go absurd, you know, just like, oh, when you get there, oh man, look at the Eiffel Tower, I want to take a photo of this, man, this is awesome, you know, then just pull out your phone, pull out your camera and just start snapping away. You really don't want to do that. That you may want to wait a little bit just to calm yourself down, you know, and then there is always right moment to take a shot. Okay, I'm not talking about professional photographer when they actually stay in the same location maybe for the entire day just to get a few frames, you know, and as a tourist, it's hard to do that because you have limited time, you have your itinerary to follow, you want to go to different places to see things. So I'm not asking you to stay there for an hour, but you definitely have 5 minutes. So stay there, calm yourself down, slow down, observe for a few minutes. Then you may get a shot like this, you know. The reason I took that shot is, you know, I was traveling as well. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't there to do a professional shoot. But of course I see these people all holding umbrellas and I'm just waiting for people all looking the same direction before I take this shot. So it just makes it look a little bit more interesting, you know, rather than just random people, like maybe people just walk straight in front of you, horizontally cutting across. And, you know, I just want some consistencies in the photo. So so that is always how you improve your photography a little bit as well. Just slow it down a little bit. Just don't get too excited about things and just go there, snap, snap, snap. You know, this is a very, very common mistake that a lot of travel photographers do when they first started, or even just normal travelers. So, okay, let's see what other people is talking here. I shot sporadically because I was with the family. Yep, no, don't get me wrong. You know, with family, I'm with a family, you know, like when I go travel, and it is hard. And I can tell you that, you know, especially with young children, it's difficult, you know, to gain that sort of space and time to do things, but you always have a couple of minutes. So yes, it's just to have that moment, you know, and all you need to do just a few frames. So don't forget what I just said before. Don't overshot everything, you know. And so instead of spending the 5 minutes taking 100 photos, take the 5 minutes, break it down to 2 minutes or 2.5 minutes to take 2 good photos. And that is a lot better than having 100 photos when you actually have to skip through half of it already. And so that's the think about, you know, slowing yourself down and taking better quality photos. So that is very, very good philosophy. And then someone is for some reason my comment section is not working properly. Let me just see if I can get that. No, it's not working. Oh, there you go. It's Ian. Oh, that's really strange that my comment section is not flowing up properly. Yeah, Ian, I do agree. And travel light is another thing I'm going to talk about in a minute. And but yeah, so taking photos is, you know, slow yourself down is very, very important. And also, you know, like in the same scene, you can sometimes utilize, depending on the weather situation, you know, you can always be a little bit more creative and just to observe. Once again, observe. Observation is a key in any sort of photography, because a lot of people would be so easy to overdo themselves and then be a little bit too how would I put it, too eager and to capture things without thinking deeply and carefully. So for instance, that's the same shot. Let me give you another just bring that shot again, just side by side. I can see the difference here. And so this shot, was actually, oh, let me just sit across again to give you a bit more space. So you can see the shot side by side again. I actually didn't move. You can see that. And I was there for about 5-10 minutes. So, I mean, that's the time I had. But it's very easy to do things like this because it was raining. And so there was reflection on the floor surface. So it's quite easy to do something slightly more creative. So I wait for the moment to take one shot with everybody's facing the Eiffel Tower, so you have all the umbrella holding up. Black and white is good in a way for this particular shot. It was because there is no distractions in color, so you don't suddenly just look at certain things that is bright or very catchy. And so this is all. Remember, this was shot on my M6 and then the Ilford XP2, or I can't remember exactly what film I used. But then, immediately after that shot, you know, I looked at the reflection and I thought it was quite cool. And I noticed this guy actually, I mean, this couple that you see on this photo here, walking towards me, and they're both dressed in black. It just kind of, in a way, because in black and white, black is actually quite catchy, or sometimes pure white. The big contrast there. So you can see these people coming in, but I was aiming at the reflection. So once again, rule of third, and I use that same thing. But obviously the difference is now I get the foreground textures of the ground itself, and it's stopped down f8, so everything is in focus. And so it's very straightforward photography things that I do. So it does look a lot better and more creative in a way. It looks more like street photography. So yeah, this is very, very straightforward in terms of improving what you want to do as a photographer when you go to a new place. So remember that, slowing yourself down, this is point one, and just don't go absurd about or trigger happy, you know, when it comes to photographing a new place or new icon, you know. And so, you know, before you travel, you probably would like to do some desktop study. You probably want to go to Google to see what other people have done already. Try not to repeat those shots as well, you know. That's another thing, another tips, you know. Not be another common photographer, because you will be taking exactly the same thing. And of course, you know, you can always argue, you know, oh, my day is different, the lighting is different, the atmosphere can be different. Very true. That's why I'm not stopping you to do that, but try not to put a lot of attention to that particular or the same composition of the other photographers has done, because you will try, if you want to better yourself, try to do something slightly different. Look for an angle, look for a foreground interest, look it from the side, you know, just try to be just a little bit different. There's nothing to stop you that. Okay, so let's move on to my next set of photos. Is from China. This one is a series of photos, so I'm going to start with this one. Let's see if I can get that. Oops, there we go. Right, I'm going to bring it over here. So this is, of course, another iconic photos I did, and this series of Chinese photos is one that were published with Business Insiders, and they spotted this series of photos when I blog about China, and many years ago. So they love these photos, so they just asked me to release the photo for them to publish in the magazines and online, of course, and also their sister publications in Australia. Business Insider Australia also published the same series, so it's in 2 different countries. So I'm quite proud of this. It's pretty cool. So that was really awesome. So something like this, you know, sometimes it's all about observing. Remember observation. My second point is observation is very, very important. It's very easy when you see a place like this, because I'm going to show you another photo in a minute to see how the surrounding looks like, because it's an amazing place. You know, any photographer will get trigger happy when it gets there. You know, myself wasn't excluded, you know, like I was too excited. I was taking more photos than I would normally do, just because when I see a place just that magnificent, I can't help myself a little bit. But you know, then again, after about like 2-3 minutes of machine gunning, and then I realized that I was doing something wrong, so I slowed down and starting to observe, you know, what sort of thing I should be doing to make the shot work. And so this is the one that this stone crossing across the river. I see people using it, you know, in China. There is still not so much of a concept of health and safety, where people can easily drop into the water and drown themselves. But no, they still use this crossing in China. And you can see this little kid here just walking across. No adults accompanying whatsoever. You know, these kids were probably about 7, 8 years old. You know, like so he just ran across the whole thing. So I stood in the middle, just doing a normal wait for the moment shot in a kind of like a street photography, waiting for him to just go in between those two concrete blocks there. So I'm going to show you another photo so you can see immediately the difference. So that's another wider shot of this, and so there we go. Almost the same shot, but you can see the surrounding. Why I got so excited about it, because this place is in English is Phoenix City, Cheng, and then is amazing place. The architecture there, the bridges, you can see everything remain original as how this place first started. So this is cool, you know. Like although having said that, you know, it's already a little bit touristy now, you know, when we went there about 8 years ago, and so now it will be even more touristy, I would believe. And it's a sad thing to see things change like that, because now they're having, well, when we get there, they already have bars selling English beer and things like that. So it, to me, it's kind of, you know, destroying the heritage, you know, the character of the place a little bit. And but fortunately, they did not destroy the architectures or the atmosphere of the entire place. So I'm quite happy that they didn't do that. But once again, this place was just amazing. At night time, it's even better. And but I'm not showing the color photos here. The night shot where they have everything lit up is really amazing as well. But I'm showing you the series of photos that I got published. So there you go. That's another one. And so here is another photos that I kind of showed it, I think last week. When I was climbing up the Mount Hua, and it was Huashan in China. So one of the main 5 peaks in three or 5 main highest mountains in China. It was a good hard climb, and so this come to the what Ian was saying about traveling light. For people who didn't hear the story, when I was climbing up this mountain taking shots, was that I was still using Canon back in the days, and I wasn't joking, man. All right, I had my backpack on, and I was pretty fit. You know, I have to admit, you know, like I was trained up. You know, I was gymming 7 days a week almost, and I was kind of very, very fit physically. And I was having my backpack. I had my Canon gear. I had 3 Trinity, the 2.8 Pro Zoom, like the 1635 2.8, 2470 2.8, 70-200 2.8, and I have a couple of primes. I have the 85 1.2, and then I had the 50 1.2. Oh my goodness, man, I have 5 lenses in my backpack, plus a speed light, plus a tripod, and then on top of that, water, spare clothes, and when you climb, and some snacks and food. That backpack was about 20 or over 22 kilos. It was bloody heavy, man. It was really heavy, and but I managed. You know, like to my surprise, I actually managed. I was climbing up the mountain, and I had absolutely no problem with that. You know, I was surprised myself how fit I was. You know, I was doing that no problem at all. But now I realize, you know, if I had a lighter setup of gears, you know, and it would, and I would be even like lighter and happier to do shots, and I climb up to the peak, because by the time I got up to the peak, yeah, I was seriously exhausted, you know, like. But the thing is, that was a day trip that we did, you know, like I didn't even stay up in the mountains. They had hotel up there, but we didn't stay up, and so it was a kind of a rush, you know. We went up there because we want to get down before everything turns dark, and so it was a rush, going through all different peaks there. So I managed the entire trip, but I wasn't joking. I mean, I would be lying to you if I wasn't feeling any sort of exhaustion there. And but my legs were like kind of trembling towards the end of it, and I couldn't even stand by the end of it. It was really, really difficult, but I managed. But like I said, you know, if I have a lighter setup, like today, if I'm taking the Olympus gear, which I'll be doing exactly the same shot without any problem, but you're shaving yourself easily half the weight, if not more, and so I'll be able to carry more, like let's say snacks and stuff like water, instead of gear. But there you go. That's something that it was amazing. So that's another shot that you may have seen already from my previous stream, and thank you, Burana, thank you, and I'm really glad you enjoyed that. So one of these shots that when you get to places like these, you know, try to use a wider angle lens sometimes to give you that very dramatic moments. And this is something that I did for this particular shot was, you know, the sun was actually setting when we get there, this particular peak there. And you can see the actual slope itself. You can see people actually climbing up, and that's the same path that we took. So in a way, it's always good to show people in your shot, especially doing things like this, because you can compare. You can have the sense of scale, you know, like how big the mountain was, how high you're climbing, by placing some people in the shots. And you can see, wow, this is massive. This is like, you can almost make your viewers feel like they're in the photo. So this is really important to do that. And once again, I choose the entire series to be black and white because I want it to be, first of all, not distracted by colors, and I don't want that. And I just want people to concentrate on the light and shadow and the textures, like for instance, the rock surface itself, the tree behind it, and also the subjects, which are in this case in backlit situations when silhouette kind of almost dark in black figures in the photos itself. So that's why I want to do that in black and white. So and also another photo also in manhua, and this is almost like a famous shot, and a lot of people have taken before. Like I mentioned, I wouldn't stop people taking the same shot what other people has done before, and I'm pretty sure this shot I've seen it before, but I've done it in a different way, because many people have done it in colors while I did in black and white. Once again, I just want to highlight the fact that I was in a peak, and you can see the rest of the mountains over the far end of the landscape, and you can actually see the layer of mountains and the lighting changes and the transitions between close to far apart. You know, it's just amazing. You know, I like to do photos like this, you know, whenever I can. But, you know, having said that, it's not always easy, you know, to trying to find a place like that. You know, nowadays if you ask me to climb back up again, you know, I will be struggling. I'm not joking. But not impossible. I just have to train up for it. And but I haven't been doing any sort of serious exercise or training for over 7 years now, so it's gonna be a task for me to do it. So anyway, that's next shot. And once again, I believe that I kind of mentioned it before, that I try to do more photography that involving local cultures and people. So this shot was it was another location in China, so not in Manhua now. I was going to a village, and I think it was in Yangshu, and I saw this rice field, and these people were walking with the I think it was the donkey, isn't it? I can't even remember now. And then so I just wanted to capture, you know, the normal day-to-day life, you know, as a farmer there. And so it's quite good that he actually looked back and look into my lens, and I just snapped that photo there. So once again, you know, these sort of shot is actually quite nice to have, because you're highlighting local culture, the local people, what they do on a daily basis, and so rather than just snapping casually in the rice field, you know, I would involving some of the locals in your shots, and then so that would mean that you give your photos more characters. Okay, so let's go into the next one. So this is more a more generic shots, and I would say once again, like I said, you know, don't, you know, because of what I said, stopping you from doing the normal thing that you would normally do. But one thing, once again, I would urge you to make sure your shot is level when you do something like this. Of course, you can correct it in post-production. It's really simple, not like film days. And so you can actually correct it in post, but you have to do it right in the camera as much as possible to save you time for corrections later on. And I'm not joking. When you go to any places, like I mentioned, you can easily end up with hundreds of photos, if not thousands, when you come back. And when you're loading up onto your Lightroom and things like that, gosh, man, like you are going to be spending ages looking through this photo and trying to correct all of them. And even if you select, you know, your favorites, let's say you kind of shrink it down to 150, 200 photos that you really enjoy and you want to process them. 150 to 200 photos, still quite a lot of photos to go through, and you want to process them. If you're not pro, you're not used to editing and things like that quickly, you're going to be spending like a lot of time doing this sort of thing and the corrections. So rather than spending time in correction, spend the time in making it look nice. So in that case, expose it correctly, compose it correctly, level your camera correctly, do those basic stuff correct in camera first before you move on to editing. So that would be my tips to you guys if you want to take better photos, better travel photography, and save you time when you come back home. And that's definitely something. Okay. Okay, gotta go. Okay, bye, Burana. Thank you for joining me once again, and I will see you tomorrow, if not Wednesday, on my live stream on YouTube. So you have a good day, Burana. Have yeah, be safe. Be safe for you too. So this next photo, of course, is about locals again, and I was walking through a village, and it was the kids were loving me photographing them. They were really happy, and of course, this is very debatable and also subjective in today's society, especially. You know, you can't really do this sort of thing in the Western world now. People will think that you are a creep or a pedophile just by photographing kids. But there are certain places in the developing world, in China, Cambodia, India. These places, you know, they're okay. You know, especially, you know, to be honest, you know, I'm not a creepy guy. You know, I just want to document local cultures and things like that. I think it's nice thing to capture the happiness and the, you know, the actual people who are living in the place. It's valuable to me to see that, because I know, you know, 10 years, 15 years later on, China will be completely changed. You know, you won't be able to see things like this, and probably you won't be able to take photos like this in 10 years time. They will be adapting what the Western culture is, you know, thinking that, you know, you photographing kids will be like a horrible things to do. But to me, it's a good thing, you know, like, okay, you know, I'm not saying in general. I know there are people who would be photographing kids for other purposes, so I'm not judging that. You just, you know, for me, it's a valuable piece of history, and so I will involve some locals. So if you're wary about photographing kids, photograph adults, and then there are also other opportunities as well. And so if you don't want to photograph any human, photograph animals. You know, like, so in this shot, you know, I've got chickens and chicks. And so I photograph a lot of them just walking around in the farm areas and in the village. So, you know, it's another just, you bring your photos a little bit more lives into your series. So like, I want you to have a mixture of everything. You know, you don't always have like 15 photos of buildings, and then you got 20 photos of the lamppost, and then 30 photos of coffee. And it's too generic. And you want to involve something just a little bit more quirky. You know, you go low down, go to low angle, going to see things that people will ignore, basically. And then that way you will get something rather interesting by the end of it. And also something you remember, because you're doing something different. Thank you, Henry. Right, let's see. Okay, here. Right, okay, this next shot, some of you seen it already, and so this one is more meaningful than what it seems at first, because you can clearly see there's two compositions here. You know, one at the top, one at the bottom. I deliberately used the bridge, the concrete bridge, to separate the scene top and bottom. The top is a means of transportation that I'm observing in China. Of course, in villages, smaller villages like this, you know, the transportation is very basic, very primitive, and that would mean that most people would walk. If not walking, they'll be using something like in the photo, a river taxi. These are common way of transportations, and so the way I frame this is using the concrete bridge to split the frame, is to highlight the two significant differences between and the walking and river taxis. Very simple shot, and you can see that they're quite nice balanced photo here. You got the top and bottom split in half, 50-50. Then you got the kid on the right, on the top right, and you got the river taxi on the bottom left. It kind of equalized the frame in terms of weight wise, and so there's a lot of consideration there. I was there for a good 15 minutes just waiting for the right moment. I saw that kid actually walking from afar. I know she was going to cross the bridge, so I was waiting there. So a little bit of luck, I got this shot, you know, because I know that if she was arriving at that particular point a bit later, a bit earlier, I wouldn't be able to capture that shot, because the taxi will be either too far away or not even arriving yet. So yeah, a little bit of luck involved, but overall you just have to observe, like I mentioned so many times already in this stream. And then finally, here is another photo that I also showed last week, if not the week before. Once again, it's another cultural thing about this particular trader there, and of course he has this camel, you know, and for people to pay him to take photo or climb onto the camel to take photos. it's a thing that we don't have it in the Western societies anymore because it's animal cruelty. You know, like the way they treat animals is actually, I would say, shocking. You know, I don't want to describe it too much, but it was quite bad. I took a photo for documentary purposes, for value purposes. I would not encourage people to do that, but it's a significant piece, and also because the whole overall setting of this photo there, it just highlights the culture at that moment in time in China. And for instance, I'm gonna give you an example. Like I saw something like this in one of the places in Guilin in southern China when I was a kid. And I went back to that same place in this trip about 8 years ago. That place is completely transformed now, and they don't have trader like these now. They don't have animals for you to take photos anymore. So things are changing in China. This particular place in Yangshu, you know, is still quite rural, you know, still quite undeveloped. So, I'm pretty sure when this place is developed, like let's say probably by now, these would not be here anymore. And so it's something that I'd like to document, you know, and then when you see something like that, you really want to capture that, keep it in your portfolio. You can show people what China looks like in that particular time, and I think it's definitely a very valuable photo. And so people, like I mentioned, a lot of people, whether they may not notice it at first, but if you pay a lot of attention observing the surrounding and the culture, you should take shots like these and to keep it in there, because over time, I'm guaranteed that in 10, 15 years time, you look back in the album and say, wow, that used to look like this. Ooh, I don't think you can see this anymore. You know, that brings you a lot of joy when you see that, and then I can guarantee that. So anyway, so this is the last photo I want to show you today. And let me bring up another photo just to end today's live stream. So, okay. I overrun a little bit again, 41 minutes I'm done, and so it's a little bit longer than expected, but I can see a lot of you guys are actually watching, so that's quite good. So probably I'll leave 1 minute. If you guys have any question, you're very welcome to ask me anything, and about gears that you want to take for travel, what sort of thing you want to use, and any questions at all, you're very welcome to ask me in the next minute or so. Just let me start off the conversation there. So what should you use if you want to up your game from let's say from smartphones? You may want to use any sort of camera, and to be quite honest, a lot of cameras these days you don't have to look too hard, you know. I know it's quite easy for you to look at the specifications and things like that, you know, oh, you know, this is good, or you hear people saying that is good. But ultimately, I would say that the best thing to do is for you to go to camera store if you can and hold it in your hand, try it out, and to see whether it's really for you. Because you're not a professional, you're just starting out, and you're not going to see or feel any difference between a high-end camera and a low-end camera. Don't overspend on cameras when you first started, and maybe get a better lens, for instance, is actually better than getting a better camera body. If you're just going for a point and shoot, yeah, okay, that's a slightly different story. But if you're going for, let's say, interchangeable cameras, let's say I wouldn't say that you should go straight for like on Olympus term. You don't want to go straight into the OMD M1 Mark III or Mark II. You may want to start out as EM10. Mark III or EPL 9 or 10. These are kind of like very beginner level cameras, are very capable cameras. You can capture really good shots, just like the shot that I take. There's no problem at all using those cameras. Of course, the high-end camera will get you features like shooting faster, bursting longer, and things like that. So, but these may not matter in these sort of instances. So you just want something that can capture that frame for you. All the cameras I mentioned to you, the lower end, starting beginner level cameras can do the exact same shot that I'm showing you right now. There's no different whatsoever. Because most likely when you're traveling, you know, you are shooting things in normal daytime. You're not really utilizing a lot of low light scenarios. You may occasionally do that, and but there's always something called a tripod. And I know, you know, these days any camera company will say that, you know, you don't need a tripod because you can do this and that. Yes, I'm not arguing that. It's really good today, you know, but to get a proper night photography, night sky, night shoot of cityscapes, and with all the lights blinging everywhere, get a tripod. And yeah, in that case, when you have a tripod, you can get one really nice now, and one that I'm going to review in my YouTube channel. I was supposed to review that last month, but because of the COVID-19, I couldn't do it, and so it's in my bag at the moment. I'm going to show you guys. You can get something really decent, really cheaply, and I might actually put the link in the description if you want to check that out really easily. Hi Ken, how are you? And what webcam do I use? I'm using my camera, my Olympus camera. I'm going to plug it into my laptop and use it as a webcam. So it is professional, right? And it's all looking good. Do you think there is going to be a massive drop in pollution after COVID? Absolutely, absolutely. Right, might as well just talk a little bit now. And yes, I do think so. And as you can see from all over the world now, all the news coming out, pollution level has dropped significantly ever since the first lockdown in China, then of course subsequently in Asia, then now in Europe and America now. You can really see the pollution level. NASA has taken some aerial or satellite photos and tracking all the pollution particles in the air. And you can see that it has reduced significantly everywhere in the world. In some way, I kind of feel that 好靚仔啊Ken, really? No, 唔夠你靚仔 man. And so I think that it's like a wake-up call. The Earth is telling us, the Mother Earth is telling us, okay, you guys have been damaging the Earth for so long now with all these pollutions and stuff like that, melting all the ice, in the Antarctic, all the like North Pole and stuff like that. Let's do something like dramatic so that you guys know the significance of pollutions. And I don't know. I mean, that's kind of strange thing in my head these days. Man, like, when you're sitting at home doing nothing, your head's starting to spin a little bit and something. I think, is it really just the Mother Nature calling us? Something. Just because of that, that COVID-19 is starting to appear, and just make sure the whole world stops a little bit so they can reflect on what they have done to the Earth, and like pollutions, like fossil fuels, and all the like consumptions and everything like that. I don't know. I don't want to say like politically, but it's just something that I kind of think, is it really? I don't know. I have no idea, man. You tell me. But it has, it's a true thing that the pollution has dropped significantly, and it may continue to do so for the foreseeable future, simply because the economy needs time to recover. Like all the airlines are basically grounded now. There's no flights going on. That means they're not polluting the air. They're not polluting the sea. There are no ships going. Very limited. And there's no cars running around now. So the cities are very clean. You go outside now, having a breathe, you feel refreshed. That's cool. And so that's what I think is very true. Okay, and any other conversation you would like to talk? If not, I may want to end it right here. And don't forget, I have my Buy Me Coffee link right here, and I have a membership going, and that will give you extra perks and stuff like that. And you have to stay tuned for all those stuff. The discount will be sent to you as soon as you become a member, and I'll let you know personally what they are. And so it is all good and nice and healthy. Hopefully that I will see you guys again tomorrow. And remember, this live stream will be on between Monday to Friday, 11 to 11:30 supposedly. Now I'm a little bit overrun at nearly 12, and so it's all fun stuff. I'm just trying to talk about things in general, a bit of photography, which a bit of filmmaking, hopefully in the near future. That's kind of my background. I want to tell you guys my experience, and hopefully I will inspire you to do something different and inspire you to do something better. So that's it, folks, and thank you for joining me, and I'm hoping you guys a really nice, happy day, and the sun really is shining. It does make you smile a little bit, eh? Okay, good. So I will see you guys tomorrow, and remember, Wednesday I will have my live stream on YouTube, also between 3 to 3:45 p.m. in London time, GMT. So stay tuned for that. That will have another topic there. So yeah, basically every Wednesday I will have my live stream on YouTube. With a different audience there, but I know some of you actually are there as well, so you definitely see me there. And Facebook is more generic, more general stuff, and I'll talk about more like a friend. It will be here every day between Monday to Friday for half an hour between 11 and 11:30. So until next time though, I shall say goodbye and see you soon, and ciao, bye for now, bye bye, 聽日見。